Today we're putting together the Honeycrisp Basket. It's a sturdy little bushel basket that can actually hold quite a few little goodies. I really like how the little apple embellishment turns out with an inking trick that I have, and it just makes such a cozy piece for autumn decorating or gifting. So here are the pieces laid out. We have these two, which are pretty similar. They could both be cut out of solid paper, or they could both be patterned paper. I thought it was cute to do one patterned, one solid. And this patterned one has a slightly larger circle in the middle. So this is the exterior. This is the interior. Then we've got the bands. There's one large band at the top on the outside and on the inside. That's what these pieces are. All four of these are identical, and two make up one band and two make up the other band on the top outside and the top inside. Then these two make up the band that goes around the center. Then we've got some leaf parts, some leaf backgrounds, the apple, and the whole apple background. I tried to make it really easy to see where everything goes, which we'll get to here in just a moment. I'm sorry about the extra noise. My husband has been home building some cabinets all week for a couple days. So I didn't want to wait any longer to get this video together. So I figured we'll just have to include some random noises. Hopefully it's not too distracting or annoying. Spouses. So I'm gonna start with the basket itself here. So this is super easy. These all just get folded up, and then the bands will hold them in place. There's the interior. And I'll do the same thing with the exterior. I do have white core paper. If you have a white edge like that, because your paper, it has a white core, if you wanted to take an ink pad and rub it around all the white edges, if you think that would look better, you can do that. If I was gonna do that, I would probably use like this color or that one. Really, anything goes. This is my favorite go-to ink pad. It's from Amazon. It's linked on the page for this on my website. Today I'm just going to go ahead with the white edges because I think it's still all right. Mainly because that interior paper is white for me. Kind of legitimizes the white edges a little bit. I don't know. So these are going to go in like this, and they'll be staggered slightly so that they are centered and overlapping equally. It's a little hard to see on white here, but essentially you'll want there to be equal space-ish, more or less, between each of these. So on either side of the red, there's a little space, and you want them to be more or less equal and for it to be more or less centered. What we're going to be doing is gluing the bottom onto the other bottom. Maybe I should put down some darker paper so we can see better. So you can see a little more clearly here. where I want this to be positioned, more or less. So today, as usual, I'm using my trusty Scotch Quick Dry tacky glue. It's usually easy to find in craft stores or where craft supplies are sold. And it's got the precision nozzle, which sometimes I have to unclog with a pin, but no biggie. And it dries pretty clear and quickly enough. It's been my go-to glue for a while, but there are also other popular glues like Barely Art Precision Glue, Art Glitter Glue, and let me know in the comments if you have a favorite glue. I would love to hear. So I feel like that's centered enough for our purposes. And it's gonna look cool when the bands go into place to hold it. So first, let's put together our smaller band. And these have one little cut line on them to show you where to line up the other one. And if you want to get really particular and precise, you could gently curve it ahead of time with some kind of straight edge, like a bone folder or a pen or pencil. You don't have to, but it might lay down a little nicer, more nicely, nicer, more nicely. So I just put glue on one side of that little guideline, and it's in the shape of an arch. I'll do the same thing on this side. Then I'm gonna take it and just slide it onto this. I'm not gonna glue it into place yet. I'm just gonna use it to kind of lightly maybe hold my parts up, and then we'll put together the other band, but just one of them. So again, for the other band, there's 4 equal parts. They each have 2 guidelines to help you line up your pieces. And we're gonna be making 2 bands, one for the outside, one for the inside. The outside one we will put together first and put it on the project, but then the interior one, the other band, we'll place it inside before we glue it together. So to make the first one, I'll grab any 2 and line it up really nicely using those 2 guidelines. And close it up using those 2 guidelines. Next, I'll take it like this and place my project inside. And it's going to really fall into place. And if it's not super duper scientifically accurate, I think that really does just give it additional character. One thing I think I might do though with my white edges, just so they're not so stark, is at least on the top, for me, I have to just stop and I have to just use this brown ink pad, at least just on the top. I think that's going to really give more of a finished look to this. And if I was really taking my time, I would probably get more of these white edges and the fold lines. But this will do for now. I think this is a nice touch. Tell me in the comments what kind of paper you're using. Are you doing patterned paper on the outside and solid on the inside? Or all solid? I always love to hear what your process is. Okay, so that does look nicer. And I'm gonna glue the exterior parts. I'm gonna kind of skip around instead of going in a circle, because I feel like if I was to glue the exterior parts to the band in order, I might, by the time I get back to the other side, it might get kind of like wonky and lopsided. So I'm gonna glue the exterior parts just like a dot to secure it. I'm gonna do one and then hop over to the other side-ish. Like this. Just like where it naturally, kind of where it naturally hits it. And then making sure the top is pretty much even is a good rule of thumb. So again, even if it looks a little unevenly spaced, I think it makes it look more like a real bushel basket. So try not to stress about quote unquote perfection would be my personal advice. And that's why one of the reasons why rustic themed projects like this I think are even more fun, because they are more easy, because they are more forgiving. And because I think rustic stuff in general is interesting and cool. I never get tired of browsing antiques or old stuff. Except for the part where you see stuff from your own childhood and you realize your stuff is like antique or vintage at least. It's kind of like a rude awakening. So now I'm going to glue the interior flaps. I don't think it's as important what order you go in here, but I'll just continue my technique of jumping across-ish. And once we have all of these, they might need more time to take hold. Once we have all these in place, we can put our second top band on the inside. But like I said, we're not going to put it together first. We're going to leave it in two parts. That way it's guaranteed to fit perfectly. And that way, both bands could be identical shapes. So we didn't have to get too particular about which bands go where. Just want to make the crafting experience as easy and straightforward and intuitive as possible. So if you find this project to be that way, do let me know in the comments, because I would love to hear. Accepting all feedback. Currently. Always. Okay. That is it. But I thought the inside looked kind of funny without a band on the inside too. It really finishes it off very nicely. So what I will do is I will glue them together once. But then I'm gonna size it in here, and I'm gonna keep the non-rounded side, the pointy corners side, facing out. I should have done that over there. I always have to do a small goof up in my videos. I think that's why I kind of stress out about making these videos, because I'm like, even just one tiny little thing like that could have been better kind of keeps me up at night. So what we can do is make it so that it's fitting well. And then we'll put some glue here and maybe on a couple of other spots. We could just do I guess a dot on each all the way around. And then I want the top to be more or less pretty even going around. So I'm just feeling the top. I'm just kind of feeling that the edges are pretty even here as I go around. And there we go. I feel like there are a couple of spots where it's like not really making contact, but I think it's pretty authentic feeling for a bushel basket. What I might do is just take this ink pad again and just kind of get the edge. Optional. Now we can slide this band on, and it kind of makes the sides curve in a little bit, as you can see, like that. It gives it more of a shape. It pretty much stays on, but of course you can make a note of where it's hitting, and then I would just do 1 and 2. Oops. And then I'm kind of squeezing it so I can get it in place without rubbing the glue off. And then kind of checking the position a little bit. And I kind of lost track of where my glue was, but I think I got it. I think just tacking it in 2 spots is going to be perfect. Now let's put together our apple embellishment. So again, I have these parts which we'll wait on. I have the leaves here. There are 4 full leaves and then 4 half leaf shapes. And I think that this, having them designed that way, makes them look even more dimensional than they are, as well as the texture that I added, which I'll show here in just a minute. But even without that texture, having them be two-toned like that makes them look really cool and dimensional, I think, and kind of like vintage. So the hardest part is just kind of figuring out what goes where. The 2 different ones go together. And then the short one and the short one here, I think, probably go together. Yes. And then this wider one, you can just kind of see, I mean, it's not terrible right there, but let's try the other one, and it definitely fits better there. So just keep trying different orientations and combos until they look like that. One extra thing I'm gonna do again is add that texture to have like the lines going up on it. So like if the lines are kind of like this, like going up from the side, by just embossing the half shape in my embossing folder. Instead of using a stripe design, I chose this because it's more natural looking, the wood grain is. And I kind of want my design, my lines to be going up and out. So maybe I'll keep these in order, and I'll go sort of up and out. Like this. Yeah. And like this. Now normally I would spray these with a little bit of water, which I suppose it's not too late to do, before I put them into my embossing machine. Normally I do this on top of a paper towel, but since I've got them oriented, I'm just gonna spray them a little bit with my mini mister that I have, this tiny little spray bottle. It's from Ranger. And it dries really quickly. Was this one here? It was. So I'll do that. Then I'll pop them in my embossing folder. Embossing machine. So here is my embossing machine. Mine is a Sizzix Big Shot. and it goes between two plates, and then it goes inside, and then the cranks it through under a lot of pressure to put that design into your pieces. Like that. So there are my textures. They look really cool. And they make my leaves look super natural and dimensional. Now for even more of an effect, I'm gonna get my ink pad out, add some green to these, maybe a little brown, and then I'm gonna do some red on this. And then these are so dark, I don't think the ink will really show up too much, but I could. I'll take my darkest green here and just kind of accent the edges and the face to bring out that texture. I'm really just rubbing it on there. No real strategy involved. It's really straightforward. And then just for kicks, or maybe after it's glued together, I could just add a little brown. On the edge. Which I think makes it also look realistic, because I'm pretty sure once the apples are ready for picking, a lot of the leaves have started to turn brown sometimes. If I'm accurately recalling apple picking, which I'm excited to do soon. An orchard by me just the other day announced that they are ready for some of the varieties of apples that they offer. So if you're near like Chicagoland or near Naperville, Illinois, then you're not too far from Oswego, Illinois, where they have Keller's Farm Stand, and they have a lovely apple orchard. Although I've been to a lot of really nice ones. I love the one in Harvard, Illinois, Royal Oak. Let me know in the comments if you have a favorite apple picking spot or other kind of pick your own fruit spot. It's been a long time since I picked anything else like blueberries. I don't think I've ever picked peaches. So what I will also do is just kind of bend these in half a little bit, more or less pretty close to their center. And that looks really good. Next, we can do this really cool technique that I'm sure I'm not the first person to do this, but I was thinking about like dyeing Easter eggs, and I was looking at pictures of Honeycrisp apples and the way that they have like some faint little light dots on them and some faint little streaks on them, and how a lot of times they're yellowish in one area and then the edges can be red or the bottom is red. So I thought I would recreate that by just doing with a white crayon, just a regular old Crayola crayon. I'm doing some random dots all over, mostly in the center, and then very lightly, very lightly, I'm doing some streaks kind of along the contour of the apple. Really can't see it yet. Well, maybe you can a little bit. I might have gone a little heavy on those. And then I'll take my red ink and I will start just with the edges. And I'm gonna leave part of it like untouched. And I'm just very lightly, very lightly just brushing the ink pad onto it. So I'm going to try to stay really faint over here so I have a large area that's mostly yellow. And that's really it. You could overanalyze it, but if you look at a picture or pictures of Honeycrisp apples, they're all a little bit different and they all kind of have like one area that's like lighter. It could be on the bottom, it could be on the top, it could be on the side, and then most of it is red. So I'm going to go even harder on the edge just to make it more dimensional looking. So I think that looks really good. Now we can just assemble this and put it on our basket. So let me make sure that I have this, the best order to glue this on here. This goes here and this goes here. But the apple does go under it. This could go either way. Then out of these leaves, the smallest one will go here, and you can just glue down half of it, either this half or the other half. And then which of these? I would say the plumper one here looks like it's going here. And then, you know, you could probably change them up and it would still look really cool. But I think they go like that, I believe. It looks like I have them swapped in my other one. So just like that. So we can glue them down. Let me move these out of the way like this. I will first glue down this one here, just like this, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then the apple, nice and centered. And then this piece here. And then our leaves. And like I said, we'll just put half of them. We'll just glue half of each one. And it could be either half. Whatever you think looks good is perfect. I really like all the dimension here between the inking, the embossing, the folded parts, the contrasting greens. It's just really pretty and vintage, yet realistic looking. I just love that. Now you can take either some glue or some kind of dimensional adhesive and glue this right onto the front. So you want to make sure it's not extending too far past the bottom unless you want to fold it up, but so that it can sit on the ground or sit on a surface rather. you can make sure that it's not sticking down too far. And then use either some glue or a dimensional adhesive like a Zot, like a Thermoweb Zot, which is, I don't have any right now, or like a foam square. You could use a couple of foam squares to affix it, or some glue. But right about here, you could angle it if you want, either way. That looks nice too, whatever you want to do. Here's how I did my original one. You can fill it up with some fun goodies like a small apple butter, got a little candle. Having the shredded paper is nice, and then I got a bag of some like fillers too from Hobby Lobby, and a cute little pumpkin. So let me know what you put in yours. I would love to see. Thanks for joining me on this project. I hope your basket turns out beautifully and that you find just the right goodies to fill it with. Be sure to share a picture of yours. I can't wait to see how you use it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time, and happy crafting.